just yesterday, Derek Chauvin was found guilty of murdering George Floyd.
Finally.
How did you feel when you heard that news?
I felt relieved. Like, honestly, like being a dude, like I remember being a kid when the Rodney King verdict came. Like, I remember being a kid and watching that on TV. Like, and I was like, you know what I mean? Like, through the years, we've never got any justice when we were done wrong by the police. And finally, almost 20 years, basically 20 years later, I'm finally seeing like 20 years of being wronged and abused by law enforcement. I feel like we finally won as a people. Like, you know what I mean? Finally, like, it's always like we get wronged by law enforcement. And it's like, it's always justified. And finally, we win. We won. Like, they finally get held accountable for their actions the way we do. If I went out and put my neck in George Floyd's neck, they would have threw me under the jail. And like, you know what I mean? Like, Finally, the police, law enforcement, they seem human. They're touchable. Like, you're human, you're touchable, you're just like us. You're not you know what I mean? You're held accountable for your action. And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think this sends a very clear signal to police around the country that if you choose to kill someone in the line of duty, you will be prison.
Because honestly, it's like, you guys train these killers. They're trained killers. Like, the police are trained. You give them a gun, you give them a car, you give them a license to kill, basically. You train them to kill, but then you expect them to go out here and not be killers. Like, no, you guys train these killers. So if you train me to kill for 6 months, boom, boom, go to the shooting range, practice this, and you train me to be a killer, at some point, I'm going to want to kill. Like, I'm like, you know what I mean? Why am I training to kill if I don't want to? Like, these officers are trained to kill, but you're trained to kill within the guidelines of the law. Like, so when you step outside of that, you should definitely be held accountable for your actions, and period.
Well, I'll say this, and I think this is very important for people around the country to hear. I saw Black people around me cry when the
verdict came through.
I was, like, when this happened, like, people that I was around started to really cry and sob out of
just tears of joy,
and frustration and everything. Mm-hmm. And although I was happy that it happened, I realized that a white person really can't understand the significance of what just happened. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Not to the extent of a Black person. Mm-hmm. And white people just need to realize that. You know, I mean, I had to check myself and think about myself for a second. I was very happy, but I wasn't crying because I never really went through, as a white man living in America, I never went through what Black people go through.
Because in layman's terms, like, imagine being a loser your whole life and you finally won. Like, that's the feeling. Like, you lost, you've been losing. Like, imagine being a player of a game and you just been losing. You never won. Like, your whole life you've been losing, and you've been watching everybody else lose. You've lost, everybody around you've lost. And then finally, somebody wins.
Would this be the equivalent of OJ beating his case for you? Or is this more serious?
This is way bigger than OJ. Like, it ain't got nothing to do with OJ.
Well, but this is what I'm saying. Like, you've seen,
like, OJ
your whole life, you've seen Black people get convicted of crimes they didn't do while white people walk away from it. And for one time, you saw a Black person actually beat a crime that they probably did.
Yeah, but
this is more
it's
serious.
not the same because he's not Black, he's OJ.
Right.
You know what I mean? He ain't Black, he OJ. So, you know what I mean?
So this was a relatively unknown. George Floyd was someone who was not famous. He was not a celebrity. He was just a regular guy.
He received justice.
And he received justice.
Him and his family and loved ones, they received justice. Finally.
Yeah. There you go. You know, Boosie went on Twitter and
he said that he lucky.
He said Derek is lucky he ain't going to jail in Louisiana with a bunch of eggplant emojis.
I saw that.
And he said Boskoe would have been made. So apparently Boosie got people on speed dial that'll go rape somebody.
Allegedly.
That's my man. That's my man. I guess I don't. whoever beefing with Boosie, just realize if you're in Louisiana, he might make that call for you.
Put a finger in his ass, man. Put a finger dead in that man.